Welcome to Good Mornings with Amy. We're going to talk about a lot of things this morning. We'll get to the sports part in just a few minutes, but tell everybody about the man behind the voice, because your voice, anybody who watches UK football knows who Carl Nathe is, the voice of UK football. So how did you get started in all of this? You grew up in New York, not far from Yankee Stadium?
Yes, but before, just let me clarify, so Tom Leach doesn't get mad. He's really the voice of the Wildcats as far as the radio. If you come to the games in Commonwealth Stadium, and sometimes you'll hear me in the background while Tom's doing the play-by-play on the radio, and you might hear it in the back of the telecast too, but I'm the public address announcer for Commonwealth Stadium for the UK football games, also do the PA for the UK baseball games, but that's what you're referring to. But yes, I grew up about an hour north of New York City, and less than an hour actually from Yankee Stadium, and was privileged enough to get to a lot of games at the what they call now the old Yankee Stadium, which was torn down. They've built a beautiful new stadium that's now 5 years old, and actually from the outside looks like it's been there forever. They did a great job. My only complaint with that is the tickets are so expensive, but that's pro sports in general, I'm afraid. But I had a great childhood growing up, got interested in sports at an early age. Realized when I was about 14 or 15, I'm probably not going to be the kind of basketball player that a Rick Pitino or a John Calipari, if you want to, in the current age, is going to be interested, and not the kind of baseball player that a major league team would be interested, not the kind of football player that a major college would be interested. So what's the next best thing? If you can't play the sports,
talk about the sports.
And so I pretty much knew, I guess, from the time I was 16, 17 years old, I wanted to get into something with sports, either sports broadcasting or maybe covering it for a newspaper, but I gravitated towards radio and had a 15-year full-time career in radio and television. I moved to Lexington in 1985 as a sports anchor and reporter at Channel 18, LEX 18 now as it's known, and I was there from 85 to 89. And then went over to the University of Kentucky in the Public Relations Office, hired by a man named Bernie Vonderheide, dear friend. He's now retired. But he gave me a chance in public relations and also encouraged me that while I was in public relations and handling items dealing with the main campus and academics and research at the university, to, hey, it's okay, keep your finger in sports. And so then I was able to pursue doing the public address announcing and do a little bit with the women's basketball team as well, some of their telecasts. So it's been a nice mix of things. I'm very fortunate. It gets real busy, but it's a good kind of busy.
You have been the public announcer for UK football since 1997, so you've been doing this for a while. You've seen a lot of teams come and go. And what's your take on the football team this year?
I think they are building something special, but you wouldn't know it right now. But Coach Stoops and his staff, I think, are the right mix of coaches. We've got the right leader for the program. The talent level is not where it needs to be to compete in the Southeastern Conference, but almost every game I've come away really encouraged by some of the things we've done. Some of the fundamental things we've done wrong, they can fix those. And some of the things where you just get outrun, as the old saying goes, speed kills. That's talent, that's ability. But I think this team knows how to make adjustments. This coaching staff knows how to make adjustments within the game. They've got a very strong recruiting class of commitments lined up for this February when we have signing day. I think they'll be able to hold that class together. I think it's going to take a couple of more recruiting classes. But I would say, if not next year, by 2015, you're going to see a very competitive football team on the field representing the University of Kentucky.
How much fun do you have doing what you do? Because you have a really cool job.
Well, that is probably the public address announcing, which is probably what I'm best known for, is really just a little snippet of my overall responsibilities at the university. But it is probably the most fun thing that I do. I devote several hours of preparation each week to get ready, go over the rosters, make sure I pronounce the names correctly for the visiting team as well as the UK team. But it's a very intense, fulfilling 3.5 or so hours, actually maybe 4.5, because I'm there a couple hours before the game, and we start announcing things about an hour before kickoff. And we have different announcements, and there's marketing, promotional announcements, and so forth. But it's a blast. And, of course, it's a whole lot more fun when Kentucky is winning. And that,
of course,
the last couple of years haven't been as good in that regard, but that's going to come.
You have brought with you this morning a couple of items for us to give away on the air straight from UK. So when we come back, we do have a trivia question for you, and we'll let you talk with Carl. If you know the answer to the question, we're talking with Carl Nathe this morning. He is the public announcer for UK football. You know the voice, and this morning we get to talk with the man. Mid-Mornings with Amy. We'll be right back. Let's talk some basketball, UK basketball. I really don't follow a lot of sports, but I do follow UK basketball. I've gone to the games all of my life at Rupp Arena. Love UK basketball. It's Big Blue season. What do you think about the team this year?
Well, actually, I think, despite of the loss that was on national television the other evening to Michigan State, I think that is going to wind up to being a blessing in disguise. I think most of our listeners know that the Cats officially this year have 2 wins and 1 loss. They won the first 2 games, really weren't all that tested in those 2 games, but then they played Michigan State, ranked number 2 in the preseason. Most of the polls had Kentucky number 1. We lost 78-74. That game was part of the State Farm Champions Classic. The second game was Duke and Kansas. Kansas beat Duke. So you've got a bunch of teams, I think, maybe 7, 8, 9 teams that are going to be in the mix to make it to the Final Four. The University of Kentucky is one of those teams. Now, I'm just giving you my opinion. Nothing wrong with fans wishing for a 40-0 season. But in this day and age, I don't think it's too realistic, especially with the freshmen that we have. We have loads of talent, maybe the most raw talent in America of any team. But it's young talent. And Michigan State came out like gangbusters and took it right to us with their juniors and seniors mixed in with their talented freshmen and sophomores. But they have a lot of experience, much more than UK, and I think that showed the other night. But the season basically has 4 months to go until we get into the NCAA tournament. 4 months and 30-something games later, I think you're going to see a much better UK men's basketball team out there, and one that's going to be in the mix. The way the NCAA tournament works, you have one off night, you're out. People I don't think they really recognize, or as much as many people should, just how difficult it is to attain the national championship. University of Kentucky's won 8 of them. We won it 2 years ago, 2012, under John Calipari. I think we've got a great shot to win it this year, but, everything has to come together. The team has to come together. You got to be lucky as far as not getting a lot of people injured, especially key players. Now, we have a lot of depth this year. That should help. The other thing is, again, a bad shooting night. The other night, we did not shoot free throws well. We were 20 out of 36. We did not shoot three-pointers well. Our regular 2-point shots, we were okay. We out-rebounded Michigan State, but we got ourselves dug in a hole. If you wiped out the first 5 minutes or so, we outplayed Michigan State, but we got down 10-0 right at the get-go. And that was tough, and we were always trying to catch up from behind. We're going to be fine, but we might lose again during the regular season or during the SEC tournament or whatever. But guess what? It's not the end of the world. I think what I like to be focused on, are we playing our best basketball as we head into the NCAA tournament? That's what I want to see.
I've heard Coach Cal say those same sentiments, so I think he gets that and he understands that too. We could talk UK basketball all morning, but we have something to give away this morning to the first person who calls us here in the studio with the correct answer to a trivia question that Carl will ask. The number here to the studio is 679-9959, 679-9959. The first person to call with the correct answer to the question. Carl.
All right, and what we are giving away, can I say what we're giving away?
Absolutely.
All right, this is a 2013-14 Kentucky Men's Basketball Media Guide. It's chock full of information about this year's team and about the history of Kentucky basketball. 208 pages in all. It's a beautiful book, and lifted right from the section called Unparalleled Tradition. Here is your trivia question. On March 21st, 1930, A high school coach from Freeport, Illinois, was named as the head basketball coach at the University of Kentucky. March 21st, 1930, a Freeport, Illinois high school coach is named head basketball coach at the University of Kentucky. What you need to say is, tell us what his name is.
Who was that coach? The number to the studio is 679-9959. 679-9959. That is a very nice media guide. Very, very nice media guide to men's basketball.
They do a wonderful job. The University of Kentucky Athletics, Media Relations, Sports Information Department put this together. John Hayden and
I think we've got somebody who knows the answer to your question.
Oh, good morning. You're on mid-morning. You've got it. What's your name?
Betty Cornett.
Betty, congratulations. Yes. Adolph Rupp is the answer. I think it was a pretty good hint when I gave the date of when he was hired. And but you know, back then it's hard to believe he was hired to be the head basketball coach. I believe at the same time to be an assistant coach on the football team. Now, and the major college level, you'd never hear that.
That doesn't happen anymore. Congratulations, Betty. Are you a UK basketball fan?
Oh, yes.
Well, you are going to love this media guide. Do you know how to find us here at Somerset 106 to pick this up?
No, I don't.
Okay, we are on WTLO Road. Do you know where that is?
Yes, I do.
Okay, we're on WTLO Road. You can't miss our satellite dish out front. You can come by any time in the next 30 days, Monday through Friday before 5.
Okay, thank you so much.
Congratulations, Betty.
Congratulations, Betty.
Okay, thank you.
She was on top of that. She knew that.
Yeah.
Adolph Rupp, the first coach of the University of Kentucky basketball.
Well, not the first, but the one that really laid the foundation.
That's right. He wasn't the first, was he?
No, he wasn't the first, but before that, it really wasn't a big deal the way it is now. There were basketball fans, and we'd had some basketball history, but Adolph Rupp, coach from 1930 to 1972, had 4 national championships during his time there, and some other ones that were real close to it, and just left the legacy. The arena's named for him, Rupp Arena. It's just he did a fantastic job. 42 years, as they called him, the Baron of the Bluegrass.
The Baron of the Bluegrass. Talk about the Big Blue Nation. It's a culture in Kentucky. It really is.
Well, I'll tell you what. I heard about the Big Blue Nation before I moved to Kentucky 28 years ago. I'd heard about the fans. I don't think we referred to it as the Big Blue Nation then, but that's been maybe in the last 15, 20 years or so. That term has been widely used. But before coming to Kentucky, I'd heard, Kentucky basketball fans, they're just crazy about it. Well, you're coming from outside and you say, okay, I'll believe it when I say,
sure,
yeah,
right?
Sure, right? Well, it's true. And you know what? It's pretty darned intimidating, I think, for some people. If you're going to come to coach here, if you coached, let's say, in the NBA somewhere being maybe New York City, okay? If you're the coach of the New York Knicks and you walk down the street in New York, I would say this, out of 10 people, just 10 average people that live in New York, which is, of course, a great melting pot, people from all over the world, but you walk past 10 people, I'd predict that 3 people would know you're the coach of the New York Knicks. 1 or 2 other people might say, I've seen his picture either in the newspaper or on TV or heard him on the radio. 1 or 2 people. And then there's 5 people that walk by would have no clue. If you're the University of Kentucky basketball coach anywhere in the Commonwealth of Kentucky and you walk down the street, I'd say 90+% of the people from the age of 2 on up
know who you are.
From 2 to 92 and beyond know just who you are, and you better be ready for that. Now, Coach Cal, I got to give him that. He not only embraces that, he has multiplied that. He's a great user of social media with Twitter and Facebook and all these things, and he has people helping him with that. But the point is, he reaches out. He gets all over the state. When they won the title, he traveled on the train and different places in the state and got out and was bringing the trophy so people could feel like they're a part of it. He gets it. There's been people here,
who haven't
the immediate predecessor, Billy G. We'll just leave it at that, okay? I don't think he got it. He didn't know what he was getting into.
We're talking with Carl Nathe this morning. He is the public announcer for UK football. You've listened to The Voice since 1997. He's with us here in the studio this morning on Mid Mornings with Amy. We're going to get you back to a little music, and we'll be right back.